afternoon. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the president of United in Peace, Inc. I'm also the urban translator and the host of this show, The Bradley Report. This show is being produced and directed by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., and I'm blessed by God to be married to her, and that's none other than Terry Marsh Bradley. And it's being made possible with the assistance of Brother Omari. With that being said, let me get to something that's very important and very historical: the death of Representative John Lewis.
This path of elected office?
No, I really didn't. I was a little bit surprised. You know, John, when he was sort of kicked out of SNCC, he went up to New York and went to work for the Field Foundation. Stayed there about a year. But the Field Foundation was one of the big funders of voter education and registration stuff. So John came back south and followed Vernon Jordan at the Voter Education Project. He went to work at the Southern Regional Council, trying to get people to adopt Brown v. Board of Education and the other things that went along with it. So John, I always saw him as being in that arena. But then he ran for the city council in Atlanta, got elected, and then he decided to run for Congress. And as you just heard, he was in a very serious contest in 1966? But, you know, if my memory serves, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think I am. John really ran in a special election. White Fowler, I believe, defeated John for Congress before.
First time.
He got elected. I'm sorry?
Yeah, the first time he ran, yeah.
Yeah, the first time he ran, he lost to White Fowler. White was one of our big buddies back then. He was part of that real progressive white Southerner. But when John ran, and the next time, Julian got in the race. At first, Julian said he was not going to run. And so a lot of people asked John to get out of the race, declare the field for Julian. John wouldn't do it. He stayed in, and he outworked him and got elected.
Congressman, put yourself back across the table with John Lewis 60 years ago. Do you think either of you could have imagined the America we're seeing today? And what would you say then about where America stands today?
Well, I would say this. John and I had a long talk, not long before he left Washington to go home. And we talked about the Black Lives Matter movement, how impressed we were with it. They were seeming to be having the kind of successes that all of us had back in the 1960s. And then, as I said, we woke up one day and the headline was "Burn, Baby, Burn." Well, John got very concerned when he looked up, like we all did, and people were yelling, "Defund the police." So John said to me, you know, this could derail this movement, just like "Burn, Baby, Burn" derailed ours. So that's why he spoke out so forcefully against it. And I joined him in doing that. As you recall, I said at the time, "Burn, Baby, Burn" may get you a good headline, but it won't make any good headway. And in order to make good headway, we needed to maintain a climate within which all your friends will stay on board and nobody will get afraid of the effort. And so John was concerned about that right up to the end. I talked to him this Saturday before he passed away. We didn't talk much about the movement. We just talked about our love for each other. We expressed it. I asked him not to try to talk, just listen. And I told him how much I loved him. And I knew right then that was probably the last time I was going to talk to him.
Well, I'm glad you had the chance to talk to him that one last time. Our condolences to you and your family, and thank you for spending a few minutes with us this afternoon. I know you have to get onto the service. I want to go on to Mary Bruce now, our chief congressional correspondent there on Capitol Hill. As the motorcade approaches, the House of Representatives took a measure to honor John Lewis even before he arrives today.
They did, George, and I can actually hear the motorcade coming up now. It's about to pass by the Supreme Court before it makes its way here to the Capitol. And the measure that was taken today is actually one that was championed by Congressman Lewis. This is a bill that would try to rename a voting rights bill after John Lewis. This, of course, is to reinstate measures from the original 1965 Voting Rights Act that were stripped in 2013 by the Supreme Court. Congressman Clyburn introducing that earlier today will pass by unanimous consent and then on to the Senate. And, you know, it really is remarkable when you consider the fact that John Lewis's legacy was in many ways cemented before he ever came here to Congress. He had already made tremendous change in this country and in our history before he spent more than 30 years here on Capitol Hill. And I think more so than the legislation that he helped to champion was the tone that he sent here. We know that he was known as the conscience of Congress. He really was the moral compass in many ways of these halls. And he spent so much of his time here lending that powerful voice, lending his clout to other fights. It wasn't just what he did for the civil rights movement and for equality. It was lending that same passion also to the fights for women's rights, for LGBTQ equality, for the fight over immigration, standing up to this administration's policies. And in just recent months also, his efforts to draw attention to the fight in this country right now as we continue to push for equality. It is just remarkable to see how John Lewis pushed not just the country, but also his fellow colleagues here in Congress. John Carl was mentioning those annual pilgrimages that he would make to the Edmund Pettus Bridge with members of Congress. That wasn't just for a history lesson. That was to remind his colleagues of all of.
You know, John Lewis was a great man. I'm seeing where they pushing a voting rights bill, hopefully in his name. I pray that they're able to rename the Pettus Bridge in his honor. But what's important is that what Congressman Claiborne said, how he and John Lewis is happy about this awakening. I choose to call it an awakening behind the death of George Floyd. The peaceful protests awakening. And it reminded them of the protests in the 60s. And one of the things that Claiborne said, I'm sure you heard, back then it was burn, baby, burn. But like he said, if you get caught up in burn, baby, burn, you're going to lose the reason in the 60s for them protesting to get the right to vote and for equality. Today, we're seeing where there's agitators that's trying to hijack the Black Lives Matter movement. And they're making it a movement where the president can say that they are anarchists and they're destroying the country as if there are domestic terrorists. I'm asking everyone to please support the Black Lives Matter peaceful protest movement. And just like you turn your phones and your cameras on what the police are doing, put it on those individuals who not about the peaceful protest. As you see them throwing firebombs and everything against the police, and water that's frozen against the police, to take their attention off of what Black Lives Matter, peaceful protest is about, with all the people that feel the same way as Black Lives Matter, peaceful protesters feel about. And that is against racism, police brutality, and it's for equality, criminal justice, police, prison reform, and an end to racism. And one of the most important things is to convince everyone get registered to vote. And if you're 18 and older and you registered, vote. One of the things Claiborne said, that from their protests in the 60s, they were able to create policies that help give the people the power to vote. When we see what's happening in Portland, and then we finding out that a lot of them guys that's in the camouflage outfits or whatever it is, they're not really police officers or law enforcement. From what I've read, they were hired. They can be hired by the marshal's office to come in and do what they say they're doing in order to have law and order. But something else that's real key and very important, while the Black Lives Matter, and we're supporting them to handle what they're doing, Black lives do matter, and we got to support that part of Black Lives Matter by us being black, African Americans. And that is an end to black on black shootings and killings within our community. That brings me to this point. The mayor and the superintendent plead for help in the shooting of 15 people outside of a funeral in Gresham. That leads me, before I get to that story, I want to get to this. Everybody needs to support this code. Hear it, listen to it. If you pick up that gun and you fire that gun, anyone that get harmed from you firing that gun, that's an innocent bystander. We asking the community, ostracize them, push them out, don't let them hide anywhere, don't support them, and let law enforcement do their job. The code is this: if you pick up that gun to solve your problem, I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying you're violating the code if you discharge that weapon and innocent people get shot or killed, especially a child or an elderly person. And the community must uphold that code.
He got his shoe shined.
The reason that it worked in the 90s, because everyone was a part of it. Kids, women, elderly, was off limits.
You didn't touch him.
Didn't touch him. By ostracizing from the community, pushing you out of the community, not supporting you in the community, or protecting you in the community, so that law enforcement can do their job by apprehending, and the Cook County State's Attorney can do her job by making sure that you get a fair prosecution. This is so that there's no retaliation in the community because you discharge or you fire that weapon at your intended target.
We all got to come together. Those of you, my name is Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the urban translator, and I'm the president of United Peace, Inc. We all got to come together to let it be known that Black lives matter everywhere. Regardless if a police shoot somebody that's black, it means twice as much to our community when someone black is shooting someone black.
With at least 8 children under the age of 10 shot in the city in just 2 weeks, some are asking if that code still carries any weight.
This is something that we got to do.
Gator catches up with some friends on Calumet.
That 1-year-old that got killed.
His conversations of late have focused on kids getting shot. He says the rule still applies.
We as men got to put it down and say, that still exists. It never left.
We all got a responsibility.
We all got a responsibility, man.
But it never left.
I'm putting a call out to all the brothers. You know what we do. Put the word on the street that this is no longer tolerated. Me and Holmes work together and we know how it works. We've been able to help individuals turn themselves in of the community, take them out for law enforcement to come and arrest them. Now is the time. Just like it was the video from Miss Frazier that let everybody know about the awakening of George Floyd. Somebody got a video, or we need to use our video to stop this senseless violence. And I believe that vengeance belongs to the Lord. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. And that's my story. You know, I want to quote the mayor. She said when she was a statement, she told the reporters at City Hall, "We cannot give the killers, the shooters, any shelter. Someone listening at this moment knows who is responsible for these and other crimes. I recognize there is fear, but if we are silent, the violence will continue. This is our time to stand up." I agree with the mayor. I'm saying the same thing in the code. That's what the code is about. We all saying the same thing. Father Fager saying the same thing, almost word for word. Andrew Holmes saying the same thing, almost word for word. The state's attorney is saying the same thing, almost word for word. Superintendent, county board president, the governor. We all feel this way. The community feel this way.
Former brothers been coming to me that was once in various different street organizations and asked me to come and wear this from something that we had in the 90s. Because we heard the people within the community, elected officials, business leaders, religious leaders, activists, the children. So I'm asking everyone, including the elected officials that are in leadership, because you have the resources. I'm not asking for any money. I'm asking you to publicly come out and say, we are working together, united in peace, in support of the code, endorsing the code, and enforcing the code for the individuals to know that if you pick up that gun and you fire that gun, there's consequences, especially if an innocent person, I'm not condoning any violence. I don't think you should shoot anyone. But if you come to where you got to grab that gun and an innocent person gets shot, and it end up being a child, a woman, an elder, a senior as we call them, or a man. I don't want to leave the brothers out. Your life is just as valuable as anybody else's life. We as a community, we do not have the luxury to hide them, even if it's a family member. We got to stand firm on that in order for God to bless us to bring down the senseless killings and shootings. We got to do this. Mayor, you're saying the same thing that I am saying. Now, I'm not your enemy. I'm standing firm on what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Governor, when y'all have these briefings, county board president, state's attorney, superintendent, let it be known that you support the code. They need to hear you say it. And so, 2 words. They're saying the same thing that we all agreeing to. We don't have to be in a meeting. We're saying the same thing. They need to hear us say the code, and they know that we're speaking in harmony as if we are a part of a choir. You're saying the same thing. Let me read this again to you. This is what the mayor said. After 15 people were shot. You go up a little bit. Go back some. Hold it right here. We can. Yeah, it is. There it is. I want you to see it and hear it. This is a visibly shaken mayor, Lori Lightfoot, on Wednesday, joined police officials in pleading for witnesses to tell police what they know about a shooting outside a gang funeral that left 15 people shot, and about the shooting of a 3-year-old is the child's parents were driving away after a fight at a gas station. The child's parents didn't have nothing to do with the fight. And you know the 3-year-old definitely didn't have nothing to do with the fight. This is a mourning. Another day that we start with despair. Another day we start with reporting on violence that has struck a neighborhood. An exalted Lightfoot told reporters at City Hall. I agree with her. I feel for her. We looking at the weekend counts of how many people have been shot and killed, especially women, children, and the seniors. As if we looking for the weekend scores of a baseball game, a basketball game, or a football game. And I'm quoting her. You seeing it, you reading it. We cannot give the killers, the shooters, any shelter. Someone listening at this moment knows who is responsible for these and other crimes. I recognize there is fear. Fear. That's a community that's terrorized. That make it where Trump can come in and say he want to bring these stormtroopers into the city because their community is terrorized. The city of Chicago is terrorized. And all they do is add the word urban to it and they become urban terrorists. And when they come into the community has no rights because they don't know who the urban terrorist is. They don't know who's supporting the urban terrorists. But the police was warned. Right there. The founder of the Mothers Against Senseless Killings, a Southside violence prevention group, on Tuesday night, she had warned the police as recently as that morning about the potential for a shooting at the funeral. We saw something. We said something. The community spoke up, and it still happened. You asked for the community to speak, Mayor. You told them you understand the fear, Mayor. They feel the fear. But the biggest fear is the continuation of it happening. And they standing up. They standing up and united in peace. Gang members standing up and united in peace. For y'all to go get the individuals that's doing the shooting and the killing. That woman stood up and she said, could you bring that down a little bit? Right here. Wait a minute. Come down a little bit more. Come down a little bit more. Come down a little bit more. Bam! Right there. She says, we saw something, we said something. The community spoke up, and this still happened. Because we're not all speaking. If you violate that code, we are not hiding you. The pastors got to say it from their pulpits. Don't just use your social media to give a wonderful sermon. Use it to put the word out that the code, if it's violated, nobody's protecting you. Put it to the word. Put it to the street. We all grew up, there was three things. Before the iPhone, before the flip phone, before the brick phone, before Google. It was, you wanted to get a message out in the community, from the barbershops to the bars, to the after-hour joints, to the streets, the beauty salons. It was through a telegram, a telephone, or a tele-negro. Let's do that now. Through the social media apparatus that we got. Let's make it gossip. Everybody loves gossip. Well, let the gossip be. If you violate that code, you ostracize from the community. Don't come to my house to hide, because your name ringing. I raised my children on this. And all parents got to do just what I did. That's the way I was raised. And a lot of the parents or grandparents of the individuals that are doing this wrong was raised the same way I was raised. It was certain things that wasn't allowed. Case in point, our parents had weapons, and they put them on the desk in their bedroom. Wasn't no lockup box. We knew if we went in that bedroom, we had a problem. And the end result was the consequences of going in that bedroom. Heaven forbid that we touch that gun. Now that we became the elders, we saying, what can we do? What can we say? Lay down the law like you was raised under the law. Tell my sons, I tell my daughter. She tell her children. My son tell his children. My granddaughter, grandson, tell their children. I'm going to tell you this, what they tell them. If you're involved in a senseless shooting and killing, and you pick up that gun, and you shoot someone, or shoot at someone, and an innocent person gets shot or killed, and if it's a woman, a child, an elderly person, and an innocent man, that just happen to be out there, like the parents that was in the gas station and their 3-year-old son gets shot. My daddy, what my daughter and my son telling them, ain't gonna help you. I can't help you. If you abuse a woman or a child, he ain't gonna help you. I can't help you. And one thing for sure, if you disrespect the elder and rob him, he's not gonna help you. I can't help you. Mayor, I appreciate what you said. Tomorrow, I appreciate what you said. Mayor, we hearing you. The people in the community hearing you. They coming out and they telling you what's missing is the most important word. Listening. Listen. Governor, listen. County board president, listen. Superintendent, listen. We the people are out here. We hearing what you're trying to figure out. God is bringing you the answer. Here it is right here. Everybody's pushing about the resources. Resources. If we give them jobs, it won't be no shooting. A criminal is going to shoot. Whether he got a job or not. He's going to shoot. So we all got to let the one that has the criminal mind know that there's consequences for your actions. You got to stop playing. I'm with the man tenfold. She with me tenfold. It's like going to the dance. All we got to do is say we're going to the dance. So make the code the dance. I love 95.1, radio station, club, stepping. When United Peace brought the commercials on there, for me to do the commercials, they immediately came and said they're going to take it a step further by lending their name in support of the code. Listen to 95.1 FM. I want to thank Torrance Smith for helping to put the YouTube video together so I can put it out there through the social media. All of us got that social media piece. Take it and share it. Mayor, I'll send it to you. Governor, I'll send it to you. County Board President, I'll send it to you. Superintendent, I'll send it to you. State's Attorney, I'll send it to you. Y'all got a network. Just share it. Mothers, young ladies, share it. Share it. Masonic order. Share it. All the Greek fraternities and sororities. Share it. So that people would know that we're serious. We can't keep accepting excuses. He was drunk off the Molly. He don't have a father in the house. So you had an individual in your house that's killing babies, that's shooting up funerals. When you do that, you bringing death to your house. You know, I want to say this, and I'm going to keep saying it. This United in Peace is something that is over 20 years old. And we tired of the myth that the code don't exist. It do exist. We need to stand on it. We as a people, we catching all this hell because we're not standing on it. We are in a season, whether you want to believe it or not. And this is my opinion as a believer. God is beyond saying enough is enough. God is saying stop. Just like he has stopped everything. Y'all can give it a name, Corona-19 or whatever it is. But Corona been around a long time. Common cold been around a long time. Flu been around a long time. But nothing stopped the world like it stopped this time. To get everyone's attention that racism and police brutality and police misconduct, enough is enough. God has said stop. That's my opinion. As a believer, I'm God fan. And with that, I want to say the last important thing too. After prayer comes policy that can't be dictated or done unless you elect the right individuals into office. I know all of y'all have got an envelope in your mail from the Board of Election. And you got to answer, send the return mail back, or they're going to knock you off the voting rolls. And it's dealing with mail-in votes as well as your voter registration card. If you don't respond to that mail, they're going to knock you off the rolls. So I'm specifically speaking to African Americans. The reason we can't get what we want as a people because we don't come out and vote. Then you get mad when they end up in the office and they don't do what you required of them. I'm going to get something that can grab everybody's mind. The cannabis law. The cannabis law. We thinking, African Americans thinking they're going to be able to sell recreational marijuana, cultivate recreational marijuana. You elected people, but you didn't elect the right people. And you got a chance to change that. All you got to do is make a demand that the right people that's in there now, in the name and the spirit of equality, just make executive order and say African Americans ought to get their fair share of the cannabis licenses. Just that simple. Just that simple. In the name of equality. Why is it? While we pushing and we celebrating Black Lives Matter, get rid of racism, here we are, the only ones that getting the licenses and getting the money from cannabis is white men. Get out there, vote, lay it down. Demand now before the election what you want. They can do it by executive order. We're seeing that with the pandemic. It's one thing God showed you. They talking about what they can't do. They can't find money for schools. They can't do this. They can't do that. Bam. Executive order, we're going to make sure you wear a mask. We're closing up all businesses. We're giving money. We're raising trillions of dollars to give people money. Before it was an election. We're 100 days from an election. Call your governor and ask him, why isn't he enforcing the Nursing Home Care Act against bad nursing homes that's abusing the residents, robbing the residents? And because he don't enforce the law in Illinois, they doing it like they got immunity. They're doing it as if they ComEd. Ask him about Westchester. Why isn't he going in on Westchester? Solve Westchester. Nursing Home Care Act. I'm saying this because I had a t-shirt on the other day with that on. Hispanics, white folks, African Americans came and said, hey, we feel what you say. AARP agree with me. And you know why I'm so passionate about it? Because I'm a card-carrying member of AARP. I can end up in a nursing home tomorrow. And my loved ones can't come in there to see if I'm being abused. If I'm getting the right medicine. And they breaking the law. And it's inhumane. Take my word for it. Call him up and ask him. And I can say this because I support the governor. But he got to do the right thing for the people. I'm not anti-J.B. Pritzker. If the election was today, I'll still tell you to vote for him, but I'll tell you his platform got to be for them seniors, because don't go to the senior homes asking them to vote for you. And then don't help the seniors or their parents. Or their family. Headlines talking about senior citizen homes all over the country. And out of 50 states, with number 50 being of the highest order of obeying the law, Illinois is number 3. And don't think they don't know. There's an elderly woman named Lottie Smith. Her daughter is Loretta Brady. She's been in the news. We've been on press conferences, me, her, Andrew on Channel 7, everybody did stories on her. She's now suing the nursing home. Her mother, Loretta Brady's mother, Lottie Smith, is on hospice. And it refused to let Loretta Brady in there to see her mother. The Illinois Department of Public Health is aware of it. They're the one that regulate the nursing homes. The directors are part of the governor's administration. At the end of the day, if anybody in the governor's administration do anything wrong, the weight falls on the governor. A man that I support. I got to say something before they think that I don't have any respect for the elderly and the residents that's in nursing homes. It's illegal. You read it in the paper. The majority or half of the deaths from that COVID-19 coming out of the nursing homes. They saying the vast majority of the people that's harmed or got the virus or dying is African Americans. I am African American. So, Governor, I'm making a public appeal to you, the man that I support. Please enforce the Nursing Home Care Act against the nursing homes that aren't in compliance, especially Sava, Westchester, nursing home and rehabilitation center in Cook County in the city, which is a western suburb by the name of Westchester. And I pray that the Cook County Board pass their resolution called Save Our Seniors. I pray that they take it out of committee and that they pass that resolution. I do know all 17 commissioners are in support of its passage. I pray that they vote it out of committee and put it a resolution for Cook County. Because once the governor passes or enforces that law, I said all nursing homes bad, but the one that's bad, once the governor passes or enforce that law or have his director of the Illinois Department of Public Health enforce that law, it frees the hands of the Cook County State's Attorney and the Illinois Attorney General for them to go in there and do a thorough investigation. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory, and that's my story.